Yeah, I guess let me share my screen. Right. So I had some of them.
Hey guys.
Hi, hey George. Hi guys.
Yeah, hi guys.
Yeah, let me. Okay, I think probably we can wait for
Uh,
some more time for others to join. Let me share my screen meanwhile. And just a second. Uh, yeah, let me know if the screen is visible. I mean, I'm just sharing the screen. So probably we can update the the notes basically for the meeting. I mean, the agenda which we need to discuss for today. I did add
okay.
some of the stuff which I thought probably we have a regular discussion on logging prototype, ETW tracer exporter PR and the PR issues, but probably be feel free to add more in the agenda list. We can talk and to update the attendees. Okay, I think should we start? Meanwhile, I mean, we can continue adding the list in the agenda. So probably we can start with the logging prototype status update. I mean, Karen or Mark, I mean, any one of you can just brief about the current status.
Okay, so the PR that is linked in the agenda is it's been approved by Leila and Josh, but before merging, there were some other unresolved comments from Johannes about implementing a default timeout for the shutdown functions. So if I don't think Johannes is here today, but if anyone would like to take a look at that before it's merged, we also created an issue for implementing a recordable interface that was related to that PR. So something similar should be implemented for logs, like for traces. But because it was a sizable amount of work that, due to the time constraints of Mark and I's internship, we might not be able to complete. We filed an issue for that. And another issue that we were thinking of filing was, as Leila suggested, there were two approaches to being able to export logs. We could either have support for multiple exporters per log processor, or we could just do what Traces did, like in the spec, and have one processor per exporter. And I think this should be up for discussion. So I will open up an issue about it as well later. But I think that having one exporter per processor might be better for, I guess, simplicity, because having multiple exporters per processor could, I think because the processor has to return whether it was shut down successfully and force flushed successfully, it's hard to return that status when multiple exporters are attached to it. And also if, each export needs to complete before the processor is able to create the next batch of logs, then it could increase the export time per batch. So my initial thoughts are having one process per exporter would be all right, but I'm not sure whether there are any other opinions or considerations that I haven't thought of there. So yeah, there will be an issue for that later, or if anyone has any thoughts on that right now. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, just to understand, I mean, once the first PR is closed, are we expecting any more PRs? I mean, I know there are two open issues here. One is, I mean, whether we need a recordable interface or we need a shared pointer, or
Yes, I'm working on another PR right now, which it'll come after the simple processor gets merged, where it's making a bunch of changes to the API and SDK, like adding more API overloads and like adding the get name method back into the API. And I'm also making the change where we're using a shared pointer, which we're going to pass to the processor instead of using the unique pointer like we're doing right now.
okay.
And doing it like this, in my opinion, it's better, because then if there's multiple processors, then they all use the same shared pointer. So instead of having to duplicate a record like n times, if there's n processors attached, then you can just use this same shared pointer. And I know, Josh, you had some concerns about doing it that way. But
yeah. So effectively, you're killing the CPU cache. Well, not quite, but it's my main problem is not actually performance, like overall speed. It's actually about bounding the performance of telemetry, where we want to make sure that the overhead that we make use of in terms of memory and the overhead we make use of in terms of CPU is bounded for this entire thing. And so shared pointer, the problem with it is you don't know when it's going to get GC'd at all. So you're putting pressure on the actual overall like memory allocation, deallocation system that you don't know when it's going to occur. And the second thing is, if there's any way we can kind of keep the I take off of this queue of logs and shove it out in an exporter as close to as close in CPU L cache as possible, the more efficient it will be. Like if we're starting to share these things across multiple exporters, multiple threads, it gets weird, right? So I don't know how much, like, yes, it's just literally, unique pointer to shared pointer, and that's simple. It's just there's concerns that I have in the overall of like, can we even make it be efficient later or bounded? The bounded bit's the most important thing to me. Of I want to know when I'm paying for allocations and deallocations, and know when I'm dealing with threading stuff. Like if that's limited and very clear where that's happening, it's better. Shared pointer, unfortunately, in servers specifically, you don't know when the deallocation happens, and so it can lead to inconsistent performance as opposed to the bounded performance. That's my main concern with that. We can talk about that more later if you want, but I think really the
yeah, sure.
bug that was opened will resolve all of this if we can end up, anyway, I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, when we make that PR after the simple process gets merged, we can talk more about it there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, and I understand. I mean, probably we do need to discuss about whether we need to implement a recordable interface or not. It does make sense in case of Tracer API because we had lots of properties and the attributes which needs to be logged as part of span. We have events, we have links, attributes at the level of span and attributes at the level of links. But probably we can discuss in the ticket whether it's the right approach for the logging API or not. And we also have to discuss whether, as of now, I don't see the logging API supporting multiple processors. We have multiple loggers and there is only one processor and one exporter. So probably if we have to support multiple loggers, I think that also, instead of having one processor to exporter mapping, but having multiple processors for a given logger, I think then that change also, we may have to do it probably. Yeah, but I think we can discuss in the tickets which you have created here for that.
Okay, so for some context, I think that some of the exporter and processor issue that could be a potential blocker for the issue 337. That was the that includes like a batch processor implementation as well as like multiple exporters. There's like Elasticsearch, OTLP, and also one to console. So I'm wondering if we could get the exporter and processor like sort of decision, like, or make a preliminary decision on that to unblock this. Would that be, in the near future, would that be possible?
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, I totally agree. We definitely need to have that decision as soon as possible. Let's try to in that PR properly. Let's try to tag Johannes. I mean, if he also had some concerns over there, and uh, uh, and let's take it forward from there. But yeah, definitely I agree. We need to decide. I mean, my personal preference would be having a one-to-one mapping between processor and exporter, and having multiple
I would
processors
agree.
the same way the way we are doing in Tracer API. Let's
Yep.
try to get hold of Johannes. If we are not getting his reply, probably we'll fix it. We'll finalize that and move forward.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And, okay. Yeah. And then there was one task which was created by Rayleigh, I think, doc feeding. I mean, he didn't create any task, but he did talk about doc feeding and user research. And me and Tom, we both uh, agreed on doing this research work. Basically, this really talks about. I'll just open this one. So it talks about try to instrument using your C++. I mean, our C++ OpenTelemetry API. Try to instrument a web framework, HTTP web framework, and try to see how as an end user how it really works. I mean, I'm not sure. I definitely I didn't get much of time to really work on that. And I did start doing analysis. I mean, there was definitely a fight to really choose what kind of web framework we can use. I mean, it's easy to decide on the web frameworks for Node.js, Ruby, Python, and other language. Definitely, it's it's something difficult to really when it comes for C++, but definitely want to hear if somebody has any opinion. And Tom, did you really had anything, any update on that also?
I tried it, but yeah, I haven't done. I'm also trying to find the framework to do the instrumentation. So yeah, let's think of. And I'm wondering, do you know, is there any deadline for this user research?
Any timeline?
Yeah, deadline. I mean,
No,
or
no, I don't see any time deadline for that. I mean, good to have it as at least. I mean, whenever we find it's doable, let's try to see it. I see some of the teams have done it. I created a ticket. I created a GitHub ticket, and I just put some reference of how other teams have done. I saw Ruby and probably PHP. I mean, the teams there, they have definitely done some groundwork
okay,
on how to test it.
that's great
Yeah,
information. Yeah, where is that? Where's the ticket? Maybe yeah, I
I
can
you can see probably
take
in
a
our
look for
GitHub
reference.
uh, tickets here. I mean, we can move. So I just created this one, dog fooding user
Okay.
research, and probably I had reference how the other teams have been doing it. So probably we can see more information from this.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah, that's all from this, and probably the ETW tracer exporter PR update. Probably Max or Mitchell. I mean, you can just give update on what's happening. Is it ready for review? I mean, because I see it's still in active state, but and lots of check-ins are happening. Uh, Max,
Hi,
you're not.
Max, and you're on mute. Yeah.
Hey, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so microphones. It's ready. EDW exporter is ready for review, and Michelle can comment on that. What we are still missing is the logging provider, but this work is happening in parallel done by Karen and Mark. So Michelle is going to send in another update, a separate PR, which will also add the logging exporter. So right now there's only tracer exporter available. Please guys take a look. There's another dependency which I think we need to contribute to contrib repo. The listener side, like sidecar, the agent for that flow. This will be done as a simple C# application because it's just easier to listen for incoming HW events in C#. And we'll print the incoming events to stdio, decoded like in whatever structured format, most likely in JSON.
Sorry. Okay.
So I already gave some tooling to Michelle just to debug the flow to actually see that events are incoming. His change should be mergeable in my opinion, but I already approved. If you guys can take a look, we definitely need a second pair of eyes to go over that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Tom.
Okay, the next item is from me, and I think this issue was reported by Mark and Karen in their prototype of logging support, logging API. And currently in the unforce, flash, and shutdown API, we for trace and the log, we don't provide timeout support. So I'm going to add that. Currently, for the timeout value, which is set to the microseconds are 0, which the comment says that represents no timeout. Seems that is that's for infinite. But seems I'm thinking about maybe 0 is not a good timeout value for infinite, right? I'm suggesting here, and I'm thinking about -1 for C++20. There's a static member method on kernel duration class, which is max, which I think that can be used to represent infinite. But as our minimal requirement is C++11, I think we can't use that. Yeah. Any suggestion beyond -1?
Is this a class that we can backport? Like, is this something that is available, for example, in Upsell? It's a good reference. So if it's already available for C++11 in Upsell, then maybe this is something that we can add to non-standard classes, or is it too much of an overhead to maintain if we add it to non-standard classes? Like either or. What do you guys think? Because if it's a header only and if it's just a constant, maybe we can borrow that.
I haven't looked at how it was done in C++20. I guess it is just a constant in a static max min method. Yeah, and I think we just need one.
We can
Probably
probably
2 is fine. Yeah.
to know std namespace that, because we already do it everywhere for the other things like string view, and span, and a few other features. This seems to be a relatively minor change. I can take a look if you guys want, because I still need to refresh my other PR.
You mentioned the library ABCL, right? Is that?
Upsell, yeah, Upsell.
Upsell.
Yes, it's Google's backport.
Yeah, I heard about it. Is it C++20 compatible or?
It's C++11 compatible, but it backports the new language features. So
okay.
It should have. We can take a look. And I think it's just why I mentioned it. It's a good reference. If it's there in Upsell, you know it's a backportable.
I see. Okay, makes sense. Okay. So if it is in Upsell, which means we can backport but not directly use the Upsell, right?
Yes.
So maybe we can just copy the code, right?
There's another reason where, yes, but yes. A simple answer is yes. There's another reason where we may need to borrow something else from Upsell, but unrelated reason.
Okay.
Yes. Generally, we don't rely on the entire Upsell. Now, I had the conversation with Emil before that in some cases, maybe we can even borrow. If it's friendly licensed, we can just borrow bits.
Okay.
We give credit to original authors. If it's a compatible license, we borrow, we add header.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Apache license.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we'll see whether it is backportable, or if it can't, then I think we can just use -1, right? Just to provide 2 options. The first preference is maybe backport. If it can't, then -1.
Maybe just a constant again, because then if we assume that it's a constant, we don't exactly. So it's like -1, right? It is.
Yeah.
But we would endorse the usage of a constant instead of it. So then if something changes, we can then alias it to the actual better type of C++20, for example.
Okay.
Just like when user checks, right? When user checks it, they don't check for -1, and they don't explicitly pass -1. They must use a constant.
I see. But I think we don't need to expose the -1 because that's only used in our SDK header and and our implementation. If the user want to pass us a timeout value, I think the user needs to use a standard time value anyway. Don't look into our hard-coded -1.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm just thinking here of a scenario. Is there any way for us to eventually configure this? Because when we configure this in some sort of system through API, like options, config options for the tracer or for Blogger provider, then I think it's not going to be like std chrono microseconds -1. It's going to be like whether max timeout or some constant name, right? And then as long as we have it in API, we recommend customers to use that instead of explicitly writing std chrono microseconds -1. Then eventually we can migrate that constant of ours to use the standard language feature.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, if I understand, we are going to look into the Epcel library to see if we can backport, right?
I think Max will
And
look
Max
at it
will-
and
Yes, I looked at a few other things now, so like I needed variant from there for Visual Studio 2015. I can take a look at that.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry,
and-
just to add to that, from a spec perspective, it says that these two functions should not block indefinitely. So would
Yeah.
having that infinite or like non lack of lack of a constant timeout, like would that be, like acceptable?
This is a good question because I look at the .NET implementation. It uses timeout.infinite. Yeah, but if then which means we have to choose some specific value of timeout, not infinite. Or I haven't looked at the spec in detail. This part.
Currently, I've set it to the max time, which is a constant value. They return for largest duration possible. Would that be
okay? I see. Yeah, but actually, maybe I miscommunicated. Even as I think set it to -1, it is not real infinite. It is just a big number. I think maybe equivalent to max here because we are going to backport the max static function, right? So yeah, actually, it is not infinite. It is just a very long timeout, very big timeout.
Okay. I see.
Okay, just. Okay. One point I just wanted to bring was that, I mean, do we see, I mean, if I see 30th is, I just wanted to see should we have meetings? I know 30th is going to be holiday, so definitely we won't have a meeting on that day. How about 21st and 16th? I mean, there was a vacation plan of each of us, which was somehow in the last meeting it was given, but I didn't find for everyone. I know Karen, you guys will not be there after 15th, right?
The 24th is our last day.
24th is the last. Okay, fine.
But we were hoping to get all the PRs in by the 13th,
Right.
so we have some time to review and merge.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, just want to understand from the others. Should we be having a meetings on December 21st and or December 16th? What's the view? I mean, we can probably plan accordingly.
I think we can leave both there, and if there's no topic, we can just end soon, right? But
Okay,
maybe
so
for the last week in December, probably I think we can decide whether we will keep it or not. But for the 3 weeks, first
Yeah.
3 weeks, probably it's fine.
So you're saying
Right.
December 21st, we don't need to have it?
I mean, we can keep it for December 21, but just
Okay.
maybe the last one probably,
Yeah.
because it is
It's a holiday, yeah.
in holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's have it at least for December 16, because if Karen and Mark they would be available till 24th, it's good to have the status. I mean, have a discussion
Yeah.
with them before really closing a year. Okay, yeah. Okay, we can quickly probably go on the PR. We don't have any other agenda. I mean, any other items to discuss. We can quickly go towards the PR reviews and the. Uh, okay, probably issues. Uh, just created one dog fooding user research. Probably we can have a discussion in that. That's something which we were talking about in the agenda. And then there is implementing a recordable interface for logs. That's something which Karen has created. We already had a discussion about it now. And I just created one self-diagnostic. Probably Josh had a good comment coming as part of the peer review. We are missing as of now a consistent way of exposing the errors in diagnostic information. Like if the tracer API itself fails, how do we handle that? How the end user should be communicated about those errors. So I just created a ticket for that, uh, mentioning what the specs talks about that and how the .NET and Golang are really handling it, that scenario. So probably just go through that and let's start discussing how to handle this scenario. I mean, uh, how we definitely need some support for diagnostic and error handling. So let's see how can we do it. Probably let's start discussing here for that. And yeah, span processor
Yeah.
shutdown.
I'm working on
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, this was something you created, right? Tom, update implementation compliance specification.
Yeah. Uh, um, I think we need to do this before our alpha or our release, right? Because I think the spec compliance matrix is out of date. And went through them, and since multiple missing features actually were implemented in our SDK.
Okay, yeah, good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to do it definitely. Yeah, this definitely will change for C++ now.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And yeah, and make version available for runtime. Yeah, this was created by Tom. This is assigned to me, and I have raised a PR for that. So yeah, I think the rest are the old ones. We can just ignore them. This was created by Max for having a Docker image for the CI builds instead of using the GitHub VMs. If we can use the Docker image for that. So
Yes, I have submitted already the scripts which allow to build all through Docker. And I think Linux allows to run Docker and Docker. So
yes,
we should be able to use one of the GitHub Action Ubuntu runners, for example, 2004, to iteratively for each run. I need to see if we hit any constraints, like execution constraints, timing constraints. Usually it's like 60 minutes for the entire run or something. But I'll take a look.
okay, sure.
And this also gives us ability. I don't know, like we're not committed to provide pre-builds per se, but this can be used as a build farm to cook the packages like for common long-term support Ubuntu versions. We may add CentOS, Red Hat, as well. So it's like for each, generate, get dead packages or RPM packages, and then somebody who would like to maintain packages for those distros may use this approach.
You're saying
You
that,
don't think-
yeah, okay. You're saying that we
I
can
don't-
create, yeah, okay.
You can create packages like of the SDK. I don't think we are taking on the ownership of this as
Got
part
it,
of
yeah.
this.
Okay, yeah, and then there was one which I created to enable the HTTP SSL verification for curl. Our current implementation for curl, I mean for HTTP client based on curl, does it just ignores the SSL server certificate verification, which is not a good thing to have. So probably I need to look into how can we enable the SSL verification. We need to have a way to provide the CA certificates, and which can be used by the curl client to do the verification. So probably I just need to look into that, how to do that. As of now, it works fine. If we ignore the SSL verification in the code, which we have done as of now, we don't enable the SSL verification, so everything goes seamlessly. Only thing is that we may be talking with the wrong server and we may not realize it. So that's the issue. And yeah, I think rest are old one we can ignore as of now. One was there which probably I think Tom you created, adding resource to tracer trace provider. I did add it in our current tracer project. I think this is something
Okay.
important to have it. So I moved this to our current trace API project.
Okay.
Yeah, and PRs, I think we had discussion for most of them. I just created one PR for updating the PR guidelines. Probably we can just quickly discuss whether it's good to have it or not. The change is basically the major change which is in this is basically I'm trying to as of now we have to get two approvals from approvers from different companies to have one PR ready to be merged. But the current stage of set of approvers which we have and the distribution across the companies, it's really difficult and challenging to get approvals from different companies. So I just tried to have, if we can have it, one approval from the company other than the owner of the owner of the PR, we should be good. Tom had one comment that we'll keep two approvers, but at least one should be from different company as a PR owner. So I mean, I'm good with that. Just wanted to get what you guys think. Is it okay to have one approver?
So just so I'm clear, this would be the approver of the PR, one of the approvers of the PR is from a different company than the person writing the PR.
Yes. So the
Okay.
person, the person
Then
owning the
cool.
PR, the approver should be from the different company. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's just go through this, and if you're okay, probably we can just make this as a guideline.
Another thing I'm thinking about is after the last update of the PR for non-trivial one, I'm talking about do we need to see some minimum time to get it merged, like 1 or 2 days to give enough visibility to the community?
Okay.
Is that useful?
You're saying that I think we already have that. I mean, just a minute. Let me open the.
Okay.
So you're saying that I mean, trivial changes. Just come again. What you're saying. So the trivial changes don't have to wait for 1 day.
I mean, for non-trivial changes, yeah. After the last update, I think we should wait at least for 1 day to merge it to give enough visibility to the community.
Okay.
For trivial changes, it's fine.
Okay. For non-trivial changes, we should explicitly mention that we have to wait for 1 day before really going ahead for the.
Well, that's right above there.
Yeah, it's
Right.
already should
Okay.
be there. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the question is, do you want to do? Are you saying you wanted it to be 2 days because you think with the limited number of reviewers, we should give more time for review? Is that what you were trying to say? I'm just curious.
I just want to give enough visibility for the PR, yeah, because we merged it too quickly. Maybe some reviewers may haven't got a chance to review the change yet.
Okay, so we already have that open for 1 working day for any kind of. I mean, that basically would be for non-trivial to wait for at least 1 working day. So so you're saying that in case we have some comments coming from the reviewers for trivial, for non-trivial, we should wait for some more, for at least 1 day before really merging the PR.
Yes, yeah, slightly different than this rule, but yeah, I think this rule is fine.
Yeah, probably just put your comment in that PR. I think we can take it forward if something has to be
Okay.
changed.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
I'll put up the comments there.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's pretty great. Okay, we already discussed about log processor and log exporter. I think we should be good to merge it. Already, I mean, we already have the 2 tickets for decide on the interface between exporter and processor and the timeout thing. So I think those changes can follow this PR once this is merged. So I mean, if we all agree, probably we can just merge this PR and go ahead with the subsequent changes coming afterwards. Johan has not. Johan did had some comments, but probably as long as we are going to follow that in subsequent PRs, I think we should be good to merge it. I did create 1 PR for versioning information because the ticket which Tom has created. So this is approved by Josh and by Tom. I mean, Max, if you just want to have a look into that, I mean.
I had a look. I'm mostly happy. There are other things that I was thinking, like, should we keep most of scripts under the tools directory?
Okay.
A reasoning is if we don't, this might become messy in the root folder. If we can keep everything under /tools.
Okay, sure.
That be just cleaner, and that be similar to how other projects or how other like bigger sized C++ projects are handling it. I know we have internal project which doesn't follow this, but for OpenTelemetry, I think it'd be much cleaner if we keep the tools under the tools.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I'll approve conditionally on that.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Okay, we already discussed about that. ETW tracer exporter using std library for API surface.
I'll refresh this. Don't look yet. I'll refresh it because it's going to shrink twice, 2 times, because I need to rebase and include the tooling.
Okay. Build gRPC with CMake.
Related both of those, actually, the ETW and the standard library. There was a call for help for Bazel support. Now that we've upgraded Bazel, thank you to whoever did that. I didn't pay attention. I can help. So just ping me, Max, whenever you need it.
Okay, cool. So just a quick one on standard, non-standard library. I will also submit a document, like write-up, that explains for those who use Visual Studio 2019 latest, it already has decent support for CMake, like built-in support for CMake. Before, in older versions, you had to generate Visual Studio project from CMake, then open that Visual Studio generated project. It was ugly because you couldn't get the entire view of all files. You had to regenerate this whenever you change the CMake. Now it's all streamlined. You can just open a directory in Visual Studio, which has CMake list.txt. It shows you whatever layout options for the CMake. It has transparent support for CTED like a Google test in there, and you can actually have multiple configurations. So this is an addition. How they handle it, they have the JSON file, which lists configuration name, destination directory, and CMake options that like /d, whatever, turning things on and off. What I was thinking, I'm going to document how to use that. This is not a required process, but it is really nice to have a neat process and convenient process for those who use Visual Studio Code. I'll have a write-up on this, and I'll explain how you can cook the SDK with non-standard classes and with standard classes using that approach. Again, this is not the only approach. You can still build manually from command line using the build scripts and all that. It's just Visual Studio AD in 2019 is quite nice to facilitate.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Max. I think definitely documentation will help in that perspective. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all. This one is already being taken care by Johan, so I think we can just ignore it for now. I mean, probably let Johan comment on that. And I think that's all we have. And yeah, I think we are done with whatever agenda item we had. If we have something else to discuss, I think we can do it. Otherwise, we'll get 15 minutes back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.